Hi, welcome to today's tutorial. Today we'll be learning to make these beautiful tropical leaves using watercolors. So I'm using an A5 book and I'm going to put masking tape around the four edges because I want like a really nice frame effect. So you can feel free to add any kind of masking tape that you have. The one I'm using over here is also called as a painter's tape and I really like the color of it. And I felt like this one is much nicer than the white ones that I've been using. Some of the white or the off-white ones that I've been using, they tend to tear the paper because either they are like really strong or there's like the glue is just too much for the paper to take it, and when I remove them it completely tears my paper. So I'm going to very quickly draw the shape of the leaves that I want. I'm going to create about 3 of them. One is a really big one and 2 more are slightly smaller in size. I really enjoy creating these kind of leaves. They remind me also of monstera leaves. So this is something like a variation of the same. You can create any kind of leaves that you want. You can use a putty eraser like the one that I'm going to be using right now to erase all your extra lines or your pencil marks or make it lighter. Using a putty eraser is very helpful. You would have seen in my earlier videos also how it leaves absolutely no residue, which is why when I'm doing any kind of watercolor painting I always use only a putty eraser. I'm also creating a 4th leaf right now because I think otherwise the entire painting looks a little empty. Right now, after these 4 leaves that I've created, it looks really full and nice. So I'm going to start off by using a light green, and I'm going to just go on creating layers of it. Watch the process, enjoy the process, and also do create it along with me. You're going to end up creating a very beautiful painting. So I'm going to mix all of my greens and I'm going to get enough color ready so I don't have to keep refilling it again. Sometimes I do end up refilling it, but when it's leaves, I think it's really okay if your colors change a little bit here and there, because when you go and look at a real leaf, it will have lots of different beautiful colors inside it. So I'm also mixing some yellow right now. It's best to start off with the lightest color and then go ahead with a slightly darker color. So for the veins in the middle, I'm going to start off with a yellow, and then we'll add these greens on top to add a beautiful effect to it. Since my green looks a little too light, it looks almost like the yellow. I'm going to mix some of my dark green in that to create almost like a sap green, and then I'm going to go about creating for my leaves. So when I'm doing a big painting like this, wherein I have objects which are of different sizes, I start off with a smaller size object because then it gives me a better idea of how it's going to turn out. So if there are any mistakes, I can just experiment on that. Like over here, it was a better idea to do it on a smaller leaf to figure out if the new green that I've mixed is fine or not. And I really like how it's come out. So when you are making your painting, I would highly recommend you to make sure that you have swatch sheet with you, and then you can check how your colors look, because most of the time they look a little different from how they look on your palette, how they look on your tubes. So it's always best to do that. Wet on wet technique is super fun to work with, but what happens in that is also in the end you're a little skeptical how it's going to look once it dries. So that little bit of concern is always there in my head when I'm doing wet on wet, because right now it looks really bright, but what if it's not this bright when it dries? So To make sure that you don't have so much of discrepancy, you can add a little bit more color and slightly less water when you're mixing your colors, to make sure that it is not too diluted. It's only when it's too diluted that the water evaporates or it gets completely dried, and at that time only the color which is left behind is very pale. So that's the color that I don't really enjoy. I don't like these very pale colors which are there on my watercolor paintings. So I start off with always a lighter tone, but then I go darker. I add many layers of it, so I enjoy painting in that style. When the size of the object is much bigger and it dries off a little soon, if your darker layers are not blending in too much, don't worry about it. Just take a little bit of water, blend the colors in. The same style I'm going to continue for the rest of this leaf, and I'm going to cover it for the fourth leaf as well. Let's see how it comes out. how it looks when it's completed. I love the effect that it has created. I'm not going to give any outline today. I like the way this is naturally looking. So let's remove the masking tape and see how the painting looks. I hope you enjoyed watching this process video. Can't wait to see what you create. Thank you.